Greetings, dear ones. I'm Kryon of Magnetic Service. We love you deeply. We are in love with you. How many times have I said that? The answer is countless. That the core of all of the channeling, regardless of the minutiae I have given you, about the things to come perhaps, or what it might look like perhaps, or the differences you would feel perhaps, all that minutiae will simply by its very nature be shoved aside. The core of this message, and the one you just heard, is pure love. There is nothing like the love of God. That creative source energy goes beyond the emotion that you call love. For it's a combination of profound compassion and the integrity and the spirit of a very caring creative source. And unconditional love is truly just that. Who looks upon you, and there is no judgment. That's unconditional, isn't it? You cannot say in one breath, I have unconditional love like God, and then in another say, but there's judgment as well. There is none. You have a discussion, and you've had many, but this one today, a little different, about channeling in general. So let's discuss that. We are all the same. All on the council, Kryon, Yeshua, in one aspect. We all are on the other side of the veil at this moment, bathed in the light of the Creator and coming to you in the purest love imaginable. That's where we emanated from. And it's so interesting what you do with your mind and how you separate that which is linear from that which is not. God is not linear. God is multidimensional. So are you, dear ones, except the linear part of you is all that you know and all that you have known. And as this thing called humanity starts to grow into a multidimensional perspective, it's almost like lights are going to go on this planet, so that the rest of the galaxy says, look what's going on. They're beginning to get it. Maybe it's even safe to visit. Because up to now, it hasn't been safe. Did you ever think of that? There's a sense of barbarianism to a linear society that still kills itself on a regular basis. Do you understand? You wonder why those from perhaps the rest of the galaxy have hung back a bit until you grow up. Well, you're growing up. This precession of the equinoxes was an astronomy phenomenon, but an esoteric gold mine. You passed that marker. You weren't planning on passing that. Did you know that? There was so much against you moving past that. But you did. You should know that there were forces afoot that would hold you back, hoping you wouldn't pass it. And there was also tremendous light pushing, knowing that you would. but with free choice, you did. Now that is a book to be written. And it will be someday. An esoteric history of how you passed 2000 to 2012. That is the hero story, dear ones. Every single human being on the planet sits in a place that is heroic. And you don't even know it. Some are bemoaning the state of the planet and are saying how awful things are. Don't even understand anything about that linear and multidimensional quotient between that which was and that which is and that which will be. You are beginning a journey of multidimensional consciousness and thinking. And when you are at a certain stage, dear ones, everything changes. What's that got to do with channeling? Well, I'll tell you. You cannot conceive of what is going on right now in this channeling, in this message, as long as you sit there in a linear consciousness. Because you're always going to ask this. For 30 years, the biggest question of Kryon is, who are you? I want to talk to the tree hugger who is here. Do you go into that field of Gaia and you feel the earth speaking to you and you feel the love surging through your body and nature is greeting you and you listen to the birds and you can smell that purity of the oxygen that is pouring into your lungs and all of that love? And do you stop for a minute and demand, and who are you? You don't. There is no who involved with nature. Because nature is a multi-sourced who, if you want to say that. It's all together. There are so many elements. And whether those elementals will show themselves to you and congratulate you and love you, it doesn't matter. You feel them all. If you're in touch with Gaia, you are a multidimensional human being. You have to be. But most of you are not. And so you don't understand the circle of reality and the circle of time. Time marches on, they say, to a linear human being. How many times have you heard, well, time marches in a circle? No, you don't necessarily hear that, do you? You have one idea. And that is there is forward and backward and now. And that's it. That is linear. That's simple. And that's not the way of it. The voice you hear now is the result of a beautiful meld between that which is the multidimensional consciousness of what you call the soul, a higher self of an individual, and that which is the multidimensional love of God on the other side of the veil. That's who is speaking. The who is not a who, it's an entourage that changes moment by moment. One of the reasons that the woman next to me can channel the counsel is for this explanation to you. They all have the same message. Did you notice? And whether it's serious or humorous, or whether it has an accent or doesn't, the message is the same. It is a multi-dimensional message of love. And sometimes that message knocks on a door that is so linear that all you can do is say, who is there? Some will ask, well, what's the difference between you, Kryon, whoever you are, and all the other religions on the planet? And that tells me one thing. You have no idea who is talking. But there is that comparison with rules and minutiae and linear steps and ideas that have nothing to do with the glory and the beauty of a multidimensional, caring God without judgment. When you start to open your consciousness to multidimensional thinking, it bursts everything wide open. Some get sick because the linearity of your mind has to reboot. Some call that the dark night of the soul, not understanding that what you call reboot gets you into a place you've never been before. A thinking process that is so expanded. And you come out of that smiling. And everywhere you look, you see that which you never saw before. You see love in everyone. Everyone. It doesn't matter who it is. You'll see the Creator in everyone because you realize everybody has a soul. And then you chuckle and laugh because you see that soul is also multiple. It is not singular. Even though you think it is, it isn't. We say this so often to you. You think you have a higher self? So many say, well, yes, we do. You think you have a lower self? Well, that probably is me without the higher self. That's fine. Okay, now you got two. How many do you need for a group? And then there's this blank stare. You mean my soul's a group? Yes, it is. You mean it's not me? Yes, it is. How can it be me and a group? Yes. That is the difference between linear thinking and multidimensional thinking. You don't understand it because you're not built to understand it. And so what is the answer to all of this? We have given that to you as well. In the interim, before there's an evolutionary process where so many of you are starting to understand the multiplicity of your own selves, there is an interim. And if you can do it, it's what we teach. It's what we all teach, no matter who is speaking. Or should it be whom? Here's the answer, and always was. Be still. Take a breath. Sit down and be loved. Be still. Take a breath. Sit down and be loved. If you'll allow that, all of the minutia of, am I doing it right, wrong, which hand, what not, all goes away. Erase, erase, erase. And in the process, all of the new things that you may need to know about you, your life, the new energy, why you're here, the plan, starts to implement itself little by little into your consciousness because you sat down, took a breath, and weren't afraid to be loved. Healer, you listening? That's going to increase your healing ability tenfold. Did you know that? You get out of the hows, the ways, all of the little minutia that you go through, and just sit down and be loved. And we've said this before. Watch what happens to your process. There's someone in here who wants to write a book and having problems. You know what the problems are? You. I want you to sit down and take a deep breath. And don't decide anything about the book. Zero. And let it pour in. You won't be able to write fast enough. That's how it's done. That's the difference between linear thinking and multidimensional thinking. Some of you still don't understand, even as I speak these words to you, what truly this means. So I'll say this again. What was the tree hugger experiencing? He or she was experiencing love. The love of Gaia, the love of God, the Creator, unconditional, pure, and it felt so good. So for now, experience this, and only this, without the questions, and check yourself for validation as you go. Just as everything has been told to you today, if you question, ask for validation for you, and you'll get it. Because you've opened the door a crack to understand yourself. And in the process, there is an evolutionary aspect that pushes you into a multi-dimensional space that to some is confusing, and others you'll smile and say, I know what's happening, I know what's happening, I know what's happening. And that's the difference between those who say they're a light worker and will walk around always puzzled, to someone who will say they're a light worker and walks around with joy, non-questions, and light. Why do you have to understand everything that is to be loved? You answer me that. I already told you. Because I'm linear, you'll say. And because I'm a product of the old energy, you'll say. And that's the way you're supposed to be, you'll say. This is a new time. You have the aspects of the potential of masters. You all do. When this world starts to think in a multidimensional way, I'll say it again. It's almost like searchlights are coming from your planet to the rest of the galaxy, and they will look at you and say, I think they're almost ready. But as long as you remain linear, it's the age of the barbarian. And you know I'm right, because that's your history. And that's about to change. I speak these things in truth. Some of you understand, some of you do not. But it comes from a place of love. That's who is speaking. That entourage which represents Spirit, God, Creative Source, all together, pouring through this human being with a pure thread of gold, with a truth that cannot be denied. You are loved and known by God. Period. Do whatever you do with free choice to implement that. And so it is.